Good afternoon, guys. I'm Mr. Nikezi. I'm going to talk about what we talked about today in Social Studies 20. And so where we're at today is we continue to talk about the French Revolution. And so essentially, we talked about the States General and how the States General there's a debate over voting. And as a result, and some of the inequality, the third estate, largely the third estate, comes together, forms the National Assembly. And under the National Assembly, we have the Women's March on Versailles, where King Louis and his family are taken from Versailles to Paris to be with the people. And so initially we see, as we progress through the history of France, we see the nobility and the clergy losing a lot of their privileges. And the whole point of it is to try to make France as equal as possible. So we get a new constitution. And within this constitution, we get this document that's drafted called the Declaration of the Rights of Man. Women, sadly, are not included. And this shows us some of the weaknesses of the French Revolution, is that this amazing Enlightenment movement, unfortunately, is still excluding minorities. And so we see some women, such as Olympe de Gouges and others, who push forward for women's rights because they want to be included as part of this movement. And so over time, we see the French clergy and the king and the nobility lose their powers. And so Louis understands what's going on, and he decides to flee Germany. He decides to flee France and go to Austria, because that's where Marie Antoinette is from. And so he's found on the way to Austria at the town of Varennes, and he's turned back to Paris, where essentially the Legislative Assembly, which is this new body, realizes that the king is not necessary. And so what they do is they push forward to form a republic. All right, so that's essentially some of the key ideas we talked about today. The idea that the French Revolution, this amazing Enlightenment idea, still left some people out, such as women. The whole premise of a lot of this legislation is to try to create as much equality as possible. Sadly, we see an us versus them mentality, where we have the Jacobins who are willing to use force, the radicals, and the Girondists who are the moderates, who are take it easy a bit. And so we start to see this revolution begin to unravel. Violence begins to become the order of the day. And we're going to talk about people such as Robespierre and Danton tomorrow. So this is a quick review of what we talked about today. Please make sure you go over your notes, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.